To achieve success in life, we must make sacrifices. We must compromise. We hide a facet of our true selves to meet societal expectations. But when taken to its extreme, what becomes the ultimate cost of our ambition? Our personal life? Our family? Our dignity? What is the value of success if it costs us everything that defines us? These are the questions surrounding writer Bill Oakley's seminal work, Steamed Hams, from the 1996 Anthology Collection, 22 Short Films About Springfield. Years later, we're still contemplating the same dilemma through our art, essays, and our memes. The same dilemma we find here at this luncheon that time has proven was anything but forgettable. Today we explore how it all went wrong, the lies and deception that brought us here, the tragedy of one Principle Seymour Skinner. Act 1 begins with Superintendent Chalmers arriving at the house of his employee and our main protagonist, Principal Skinner. Right away, we see that Chalmers is annoyed to be there when he criticizes Skinner for his poor navigational skills.
Well, Seymour, I made it, despite your directions.
Both men are rather comfortable with his use of this condescending tone, implying that the path to disappointment has been a well-trodden one. From his first line, we already see Chalmers has a low opinion of Skinner's overall competence and will not be easily won over with empty, obsequious gestures. Meanwhile, Principal Skinner is doing everything he can to impress his boss.
I hope you're prepared for an unforgettable luncheon.
He attempts to win him over with the promise of an unforgettable luncheon. Literally, a meal so well crafted, he will be thinking about it for years to come. More than anything, Skinner wants praise from his discerning superior, and it seems that he's gone through great lengths to arrange this lunch meeting so that he will finally appear capable in the old man's eyes. This becomes, in effect, the story's thesis. The boss's approval is everything. With the dichotomy between these two firmly established, we are then launched headfirst into the inciting incident awaiting Seymour in the kitchen. Skinner enters to find his entire lunch plan engulfed in flame, affirming Chalmers' initial misgivings about him. Along with his attempt at competence, the meal Skinner labored over slowly burns away in the grim funeral pyre contained within his oven. This story's inciting incident thumbs its nose at the thesis that our protagonist is defending. The boss's approval is everything, but how can one receive praise from a superior at work if they can't even handle a simple lunch at home? Skinner has failed before he even began. But it's in this new situation where Skinner comes up with an entirely new plan. One that sees him sneaking out of the house to buy quick service cuisine from across the street with intent to disguise it as his own cooking. Though he can no longer impress his boss with his natural skill as he intended, he can at least stem the tide of criticism through cunning. If Skinner can't truly achieve the competence he needs for approval, then maybe he can at least fake it. Unfortunately, the new plan is immediately complicated when the superintendent enters the kitchen to see Skinner climbing out the window. The short's theme song interrupts the scene, and it cannot be overlooked. For those unfamiliar with the greater narrative of the source material, this montage establishes just how used to this nonsense Chalmers is. And for those regular viewers of The Simpsons, it contextualizes just how starved for a win Skinner is, heightening the stakes. After viewing his previous track record, we feel the urgency that Skinner cannot afford another mess-up. The song concludes with Chalmers yelling Seymour's name as part of the show's jingle, implying this is not the first time he's raised his voice in anger to his employee, as if the feeling of exasperation itself is his catchphrase. Skinner immediately covers for this suspicious position by claiming he was just stretching his calves on the windowsill. Ignoring that unlikely story, Chalmers then asks the one question that will change the course of the entire afternoon, and possibly the rest of Skinner's life.
Why is there smoke coming out of your oven, Seymour?
Skinner could admit defeat right here. He could admit to miscalculating the timing of the roast, put out the kitchen fire, and order takeout instead. But Skinner is determined to not go down without a fight, not when his praise and admiration hang in the balance. Not when another failure means the disdain of a man whose opinion holds so much power in his life. Perhaps instead, one could make the argument that not only did Skinner not ruin the lunch, there isn't even a fire in the oven. Instead of conceding to his ineptitude, Skinner tells a fairly dumb lie.
Oh, that isn't smoke, it's steam. Steam from the steamed clams we're having.
This first major lie begins the main arc of our story. A lie that he will keep up at the cost of everything. That isn't smoke. The oven is not on fire. Chalmers gives Skinner the benefit of the doubt, perhaps sensing this is just another one of Skinner's crazy explanations, and allows him to save face this time. He leaves the room. With Chalmers gone, Skinner recommits to his plan. He must suffer the indignity of escaping through his own kitchen window and buy a replacement meal at a local burger chain. He must maintain the illusion that nothing has gone wrong. Skinner leaves behind his oven, which he insists is not on fire, and takes us into Act 2. Moments later, Skinner returns with an arrangement of store-bought burgers with fries added for garnish that he's attempting to pass off as his own.
I thought we were having steamed clams.
He's immediately called out.
No, I said steamed hams. That's what I call hamburgers.
Either Skinner forgot about that little detail, or this is the best he could come up with on his way home. Either way, Skinner doubles down on duplicity, once again calling Chalmers' common sense into question. You're not seeing smoke, you're seeing steam. You misheard steamed clams. I said steamed hams. This lie being particularly suspicious, Chalmers is not so quick to accept it. Over the next few exchanges, the superintendent grills Skinner over the etymological origins of his so-called steamed hams. But he finally drops this line of questioning once Skinner explains the nickname is local to Albany, New York. Skinner lied about his oven, he lied about the burgers, but now at the story's midpoint, it appears he's finally in the clear. Skinner may have actually pulled off the facade of the perfect lunch after all. The two diners enjoy a moment of tranquil silence, but it's only a moment. Chalmers takes a bite of his steamed ham.
You know, these hamburgers are quite similar to the ones they have at Krusty Burger.
Chalmers begins to see the ruse for what it really is. And the longer Skinner perpetuates this tenuous subterfuge, the more incompetent, the more pathetic he appears. But Skinner sticks to his preposterous narrative. These burgers are homemade, they're called steamed hams in Albany, and the oven was never on fire. But even insisting on these points doesn't make them any truer when faced with the cold, hard light of basic evidence. Chalmers can see that the apparent hams his subordinate claims to have steamed are in fact grilled. Skinner is now face to face with his lie. How can they possibly be steamed when he's staring down the barrel of a grill-marked Krusty Burger? Skinner knows that he's at the tipping point. But even now, with nothing rational or even irrational left to hold on to, even now Skinner persists. He refuses to be seen for the fraud he knows he is. He gets up and he leaves the room. But there is no solace for Skinner found in that kitchen. For pouring from the inferno of his blazing oven that he insists has never been on fire are the flames that will now consume his home and eventually reduce it to cinders. There's nothing to be done but end the luncheon prematurely and enter Act 3.
Oh, well, that was wonderful. Good time was had by all. I'm pooped.
Skinner can see the finish line. His nightmare almost ends right there. But then Chalmers gets a glimpse inside the kitchen door.
Good Lord, what is happening in there?
It's all on the line now. Skinner is caught in the middle of his most unexplainable crisis yet. Surely before, confessing that the roast was burned would have been waved off as base-level incompetence. But at this point, confessing to the truth would expose Skinner's vast, new, undreamt-of depths of Machiavellian incompetence. Skinner's choices are to give up and accept his rightfully earned scorn, or fully commit. Go for the Hail Mary pass, look his boss in the eye, and against all rational thought, insist that solar winds have entered his kitchen and disrupted the charged particles of the room's local magnetosphere.
Aurora Borealis?
Aurora Borealis!
Chalmers is insulted. This has gone on for far too long. He finally confronts Skinner. But even now, after he's lost any credibility he may have started with, when Chalmers walked through the door today, even now Skinner commits to the lie.
Localized entirely within your kitchen.
Yes.
It's all or nothing. Throughout history, the tactics of propagandists, oligarchs, and pundits alike have shown us that if we repeat a blatant lie with confidence, never admitting fault, never backing down, the lie becomes more and more believable. And in the end, what is more believable? That a solar phenomenon is happening within your employee's kitchen? Or that someone is so starved for your approval that they would actively allow a raging fire to rip through their home? To Gary Chalmers, it doesn't even matter. Because after all that's gone on today, if someone is still that desperate that they're willing to lose it all, the only decent thing to do is let them have their small, pitiful win. For whatever reason, Chalmers finally relents. He accepts some form of Skinner's lie and moves on. After this ham-fisted attempt, Skinner bids goodbye to his esteemed guest.
Seymour! The house is on fire!
No, Mother, it's just the Northern Lights.
At this point, his mom's cries for help mean very little. Skinner has committed to this new reality and would rather let his house burn down and let his mother die than ruin that illusion. But before Chalmers leaves, he does one last thing. He finally pays Skinner the smallest of compliments.
Well, Seymour, you are an odd fellow, but I must say, you steam a good ham.
All Skinner wanted to do is win the appreciation of his superior today. And with his sacrifice, he finally achieved this. No more is Chalmers muttering snide comments under his breath about Skinner's lack of direction. He's actually praising him. Yet, is it really Skinner who's being praised? Certainly not for his cooking. He never steamed a good ham. They were all assembled mindlessly by underpaid employees at Krusty Burger. Chalmers never really got a good look at the true Skinner. It's all been smoke and mirrors. But perhaps in the sad life of Principle Seymour Skinner, merely being told you've achieved something is equally as important as actually achieving it.
You're failing, Seymour. What that isn't about you and failure.
And a small word of kindness, even an unearned one, is worth burning down your own house for. Against all odds, Skinner managed to pull off the unforgettable luncheon he was aiming for, because the loss of his dignity will be remembered forever. Okay, so when Bill Oakley wrote this sketch all those years ago, I'm fairly sure the only thing he meant to do was to make it funny. And good news for him, he succeeded. Then in this video, I took something meant to be funny and turned it into something serious for the intention of making it funny yet again. But in the process, this jokey conceit weirdly supported this ongoing thread of character development and thematic pathos that probably wasn't intended to be there. So my question to you people who watch the channel for my story structure breakdowns, and any new folks who showed up just for the meme, was this whole dramatic take on steamed hams a kind of legitimate analysis of the work, or just a bit of a goof? I don't know if there's a definitive answer to this, but I feel like there's a fun conversation to have about it. So let me know in the comments what your take is on this kind of parody media analysis thing. But if you don't want to wash the taste of those juicy hams out of your mouth just yet, I've got a fresh pile of steamed hams memes that I made in my other channel, Shake the Box. And if you're new to Storygraph and like watching my little story beats beep and bloop on the bottom of the screen, why not take a look at my Mulholland Drive video? It's not nearly as grim as this one was. Steamed hams is serious business, but you know, those David Lynch films, they're always so upbeat.
Watch this, Lise. You can actually pinpoint the second when your heart rips in half. And now.